Hey guys, Jeroen here. In this video I want to talk about how to install Kontakt libraries or how to import Kontakt libraries. It's a question I get quite often on my YouTube channel. For those of you who don't know me, I make, or I have made in the past, a number of videos about free Kontakt libraries, which are like instruments, to simply say it for now. And like here, Gugak, for example, or Kugak, I should pronounce it. It was a very popular one, and lots of people are asking me, like Christoph does here, how do you import an instrument in Kontakt 5? Can you do a video on that? So after 2 years, Christoph, finally I'm doing a video on that, sorry. I get lots of questions like this. How do you import it? How do you install it? And so on. So that's what this video is about. So this is not a demo of certain Kontakt instruments. And I'm going to be talking a lot. So if you don't like that, I'm sorry, then maybe you should not watch this video. Okay, first of all, about Kontakt itself. What is Kontakt? Kontakt is, let me just open it up here. Are you opening? Come on. Yeah, there it is. So this here is Kontakt. It's just basically a VST instrument that doesn't have any sounds, but that's the purpose of those libraries. So you buy sound packs. It's called a Kontakt library, as in a library of sounds that can be played using Kontakt, and you see a number of them here. And yeah, so the reviews I did were on some free libraries. The ones that you see here are quite expensive. What should you know about Kontakt? First of all, there are two different Kontakts. The first one is called, or often referred to as, the full version of Kontakt. And let me just pull it up. It's a product by Native Instruments. So here is Native Instruments and Kontakt 6. I pulled it up here. It cost 399 euros for that player. Now there's also a free version, and that one is called the Kontakt Player. So not Kontakt, but the Kontakt Player. And that's for free. So why on earth would you pay 399 euros if you can get a free one? Well, the reason is that in the free one, you can only play expensive libraries. And that's a very simple way of explaining it, but basically that is what it comes down to. So all these that you see here are easily 250 euros and more expensive than that. So these companies so Spitfire, for example, that released Albion, and Project Sam, which released the Orchestral Essentials and so on, they are actually paying a license fee to Native Instruments for their library to be able to be played in the Kontakt Player. Of course, those people who are making Kontakt instruments themselves and want to put them out there on the internet for free or for a very low price, if they would have to, also pay a license fee to Native Instruments, nobody would want to buy that library maybe. So let's just keep it simple and say it like that. If a Kontakt library, costs less than 150 or maybe even higher euros or dollars, you can bet on it that you can only use it in the full version of Kontakt. I hope that's clear enough. I don't want to get too technical on business terms and so on. So yeah, so that's that. So you need, for actually all the videos that I've made, you need the full version of Kontakt to be able to play that. And of course I don't mention that in every video I just don't mention that because I'm actually presuming that if you're watching my video, you already know what Kontakt is. And of course, if you see this price, you might get very demotivated. And it's not that I'm not trying to demotivate you. I want to be honest, but yeah, again, I'm making that video actually for people who already know what Kontakt is. Anyway, if you're still watching, let's take a look at how you have to install them and so on. Since I've gotten on my Kugak video, I've gotten the most questions, and here and there I've even given some incorrect advice, for which I'm sorry. I was presuming that I knew how it went, but actually I don't know these things by heart. When I install something or when I download something, and then start using it, I just follow my logic, and of course I have to respect that not everybody does that or knows that. Like I don't know by heart. But anyway, for the purpose of this video, I went to the website of Katsnu, and so here you find Gugak, and I was like, okay, I'm going to take a look and then I'll just download one of the instruments so I can do this video. So here, I'll take this one here, one of the wind instruments. And I just noticed here that you have not only this as this Denso as a Kontakt instrument, but also Live Sampler and EXS24. Now, EXS24, I never heard of it. So now you might be thinking, come on, how can you not know that? Well, I didn't, I'm sorry. So I looked it up quickly and I noticed that it is it's a player, just like Kontakt actually, for Logic Pro or Logic users, which I am not, so that's probably why I didn't know it. And then the Live Sampler, maybe that's something that you can just install for free. I didn't even check that. Because, yeah, the purpose for me, of course, is Kontakt. But, of course, now, then it became clear to me that why people were asking, how do you install that? And it doesn't work for me. Of course, you have to understand, I'm not doing the product support for all these companies. I'm just a guy who makes videos about Kontakt. Anyway, I decided to download just this one here, the Kontakt version, because the rest of this video is just going to be about Kontakt. If you download it, let me just quickly go there. If you click on it, you'll get to this page here, where you have the zip file that contains the actual sounds, and then the README file. And this is also something quite important I want to show. I opened it up here already. You always need to read these things, especially for free libraries, because what does it say in this case? You may use Kontakt VSTI for any personal or non-commercial purpose. Personal or non-commercial. So that means if you want to use it for commercial purposes, you got to read a bit further. If you want to make it, would like to make a secondary product, such as a musical composition. So if you're composing something using Kontakt, you must specify the following statement. So these are important things to read. Okay, be warned, or I hereby warned you. Okay, so then the other file is this. For Kontakt, I had to do that or you have to download each instrument separately. Here is the button that you can download with. And then as a result, you will get, where do I have it? Here. So you will get the zip file. And then when you unzip it, you get a file like this here. I put a 0 in front of it, so I would have it at the top. So let's take a look at what's inside. Here is the instrument, or the folder basically, which gives you the instrument and then these two here. You will notice that, if you're going to download more free Kontakt instruments, that not all of them are going to look exactly like this. So you have to use a bit of common sense and think a little bit. Why it has these two files in there, I don't really know. In any case, I mean, some Kontakt libraries will have indeed an installation file, like something like more or less like this one here. And let me explain why I said I don't know why this one is here. If you have a Kontakt library with an installation file, it's not so much an installation file as it is, or I would rather call it like that, a file which allows you to unpack everything and place everything correctly. So in this case, I don't need to do anything with this one here because my instrument and, well, the two folders are already unpacked. Because if I look at instrument, here is the instrument. It's an NKI file. So those are the instrument files of a Kontakt library. And that's all you need. So in this case, you don't need to install, and this is confusing, I get it, and I cannot explain why. But as soon as I see this, I know, like, okay, I don't need this anymore. Anyway, I have answered a few times in the past, you don't need to install a Kontakt library. What you need to install is Kontakt and then just import the library. So that was, to say the least, a bit misguiding if I've said that. So yeah, the installation files are more to unpack it, basically. So then you go to Kontakt, and what do you have to do then? First of all, for these libraries that have the icon, that's also something which is only for the more expensive ones. So Kontakt is not going to have one of these icons here. For the more expensive ones, if you buy them, and most people will know this, I guess, if you have bought Kontakt or Complete at Native Instruments, you get what they call native access, and this is basically their software that helps you to add a serial number. So that's what you get when you buy the more expensive ones. You add a serial number, and then it will this native access will actually help you to download and install Kontakt, and by install it means that up until the point that it appears here with a icon in your Kontakt itself. So for cheap libraries, don't look for this, you will not find it. What you have to do to open up a Kontakt file is there's a few different ways, actually. First of all, there's the Files button here at the top, which gives you this navigator. And then, so in my case, they're on my D drive. I have here my Kontakt libraries. And here is the folder of Denso, so that QGAC instrument that I've downloaded. If I double click on it here, it will open up. So you can just use the bottom here or use the plus here to open it up further. That's basically the same thing. And you always want to be looking for the instrument itself, because that's what you're going to load up here in Kontakt. So if I open up the instrument and then I double click here, then there you go, without having to install anything. So all I did was I unzipped the file for that instrument and everything was already there. Yeah. So here is my instrument and I could just simply play it. So this is one way, using the files here at the top to go and look for your library. Now another way is, and I'm going to right click here on my mouse, using this here at the top. They call it the quick load, and it's going to be empty the first time. So the quick load is, well, basically the same as this here. It's a way to help you to remember your folders here and to quickly go there. How do you import? So how could I import my Denso in here? So I'm just going to click on it, and here is the folder, and I could just click and drag and place it, for example, there. And now it's here, and I can use this way to go there. Or I'm going to right click again and delete from quick load. Imagine I want it under acoustic. It's a folder that I've used for all my acoustic type of instruments. I could just click here and drag it here somewhere, for example, or even further. Yeah. No, sorry. If I would want it under acoustic, I would have to drop it onto the acoustic folder, and then it will be added. Where is it? Denso. It's here now, for example. Well, you may have noticed that I have the entire QGAC here, but this is just, you know, how to do that. So I'm going to delete it again from quick load. So here I have the entire QGAC folder. Yeah, so that's how you can open that up. Now there's a few more things that I want to say. I want to try to make this video as complete as possible. Let me actually go back here and wait, before I do this, let me show you in this way. What do I want to show you? There, because I'm trying to think of an example where I can show you how these folders work, because it's important that they are indeed unpacked and installed, between quotation marks, in the correct way. What am I looking at? Let's try it. Angry Brass, for example. Look, this is a good example. So here so my folder acoustic, it has a lot of free instruments or cheap ones that I've just grouped, you know. So here I have a folder called Angry Brass. It's also a free library, and when I unzipped it, it had 3 folders. I didn't install anything for this in this case. So you see there's no installation files. That's already a difference with QGAC. 3 folders, one with documents. So these are again so this is a free library by Performance Samples. Read the PDF, of course, and then you have, of course, the 2 most important folders, which are instruments and samples. Now, the instruments is what you're going to load up in your Kontakt. But in this case, these instruments are going to look at some samples which are in the samples folder. So, for example, so I have 3 instruments, the horns, trombones, and trumpets. So let's take the horns as an example. If I load up that instrument, it's going to look for the samples folder and it's going to look for the horn samples. These are actually all the notes probably played by that brass section. And this is a more typical example than QGAC. So most of your libraries will have at least the documents as well, but the most important ones to play is going to be your instruments and your samples folder. So sometimes something can go wrong when you upload a library, which means that the Kontakt is not going to find the right file, or your instrument is not going to find the right file. So I'm going to try to simulate that. I hope I will find the right library. I'm going to go here, and it's a library called Death Piano. Reason why it will go wrong is because I created my own folder. So these are all the standard files, but I created a folder with my favorites, or the best ones here. That's how I always call it. Yeah, okay. So because I'm not going to go into how I did it, or maybe I will. Why not? But anyway, I'm going to open one of these and something will go wrong. This here. So you might get this message sometimes. What is happening here is this instrument here is looking for the right samples. Probably, what is it? It's not finding a number of, well, basically it's looking for a few files that it needs to open up, and it doesn't find them. That's because it's following a certain path, which for some reason doesn't seem to be correct. Then you have here, you can help Kontakt here by clicking on Browse for Folder and then going to where that library is. And in this case, so it's showing me the instruments, not the instruments itself, but just the instruments folder, and then the subfolders of that instruments folder. Now, the best thing you can do, because you don't know for sure where that file is click on the highest folder. So in this case, Death Piano itself, the highest folder for that instrument, which will then allow it to find it. So I'm going to click OK here, and then it does work and it loads up. Let me just do that again. If I click on it and I would say ignore for this time, it might look like this. So it didn't find the background picture and so on. Now, of course, if I click on the same one, I'm going to have that same problem again. So you want to make sure that if you have this type of message, you want to make sure that the next time you don't have this problem. So before clicking on Browse this folder, you're going to hit Keep Search Mode and Selected Folders for the current session. It's going to remember the path basically to whatever it needs. So then I'm going to click on Browse for Folder. I'll go to the highest level folder for that instrument, which is here, Death Piano. I click on OK, and here we go. And now if I close it and I try to reopen it again, it works. For some reason, sometimes it does happen again. I'm not always 100% sure why. I mean, I do know that I move folders around sometimes. So that might be the reason for it. Anyway, I always know how to solve it, so then I curse for a second, I fix the problem, and that's that, you know. So yeah. Oh yeah, by the way, so how did I save this? So as you can see, Death Piano has a lot of instruments, and it's always the same instrument with different settings. So I went through all of these, and then at a certain moment I clicked on one, and then I was like, oh, I like the way this sounds, and I want to put that in my best of folder. So how do you do that? I just click here on the little save icon, and then save as, and then it gives you the name. You can, by the way, rename it just by clicking here. I could name this, let me call it DP1, for example, and then I can go here, save as. It's going to give me the original name, not DP1, but the original name, which is fine. And then this one opens up. And I already created a folder in here, so it's under Death Piano. So I will just go there to my best folder, and I will just save it here. Now, before hitting save, you have the option to say, I want to save the patch only, or I want to save the patch and the samples. Now, you don't really want to do that. I mean, depends on the situation, of course. But if in this case, it's going to save all the samples. If you're going to do that every time, then the samples that it needs, you know, they're going to be in there like 5, 10, 20 times. You don't really want that. You just do the patch only. And I'm actually noticing this here, absolute path. Maybe you want to uncheck that, because I think I never noticed this before. It's really the first time I noticed this now. Maybe if I'm guessing that absolute path means that it remembers that this instrument has to go look at the files which are in that folder over there, you know. And if you uncheck that, maybe it will not remember the path. Let's see how it behaves. So I'm in my best folder. I'm just unchecked it. I'm gonna hit save. So now the result is, if I go to my best folder, there is my instrument. I double click it, And it remembers. So that could be because I unchecked that. I'm not sure. See if you can find another video on YouTube about it, or just experiment with it yourself. You know, if I know for sure if I'm going to hit any of the other ones here, it's going to ask me where do I have to go and look. Well, maybe it doesn't. I know, of course it doesn't, because when I did this one here, the top one, I told it, I said to remember the path and so on. So that's what it's doing now. So all of them should work. Okay, sometimes I forget so quickly what I just said. All right, I think I've said most things. So how to install, I'm just thinking quickly, how to install a library. Yeah, that's it. So don't look too much for these things here. Either use files or right click so you get the quick load here at the bottom, and then just from here you can click and drag them in there. That's how a Kontakt instrument works. Good luck, and if you have any other questions, let me know. But as you can see, I'm not very good at answering the questions which are asked on my YouTube channel, so I apologize for that. Like I said, I'm just a hobbyist. I'm not a support or help desk for any of these companies. So good luck, and until the next video, bye bye.